well, and we hope to best last year's number as we have each and every year. More details on this as the program unfolds. I want to welcome back in the meantime the leading, according to the latest polling data, Republican presidential candidate Donald Trump to the EIB microphones. Mr. Trump, great to have you back, sir.
Hi, Rush. How are you doing so far? Can you tell a number? Are you allowed to say the number that you've raised so far?
Well, I try to stay away from actual hard numbers till the end of the program is over, but...
Well, it might influence what I'm going to do, because I'm trying to figure out, like, the scope. You know, I don't know what the scope is, but it's an incredible cause. So I have to sort of, can you give me, like, an idea? What did you raise last year, Rush?
Last year, we do about $1.5 million to $2 million when it's all said and done.
Wow, that's great.
Within in one 3-hour program.
I think that's fair. Okay, so here's the story. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, and you can treat me terribly after I do this. It doesn't make any difference to me.
Wait a sec, Donald. I was just wrong. I was over $3 million last year. I was the 2-year-old
number. In honor of you, because I love your show, and whenever I can, I listen. And it's not easy when you're a business guy, right?
I know.
You know, the timing isn't so great.
That's exactly
right.
But
I listen a lot. In honor of you, $100,000.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, that's in honor of you, and now you can go and really beat me up. Go ahead, Rush.
Now, I've got to tell you, you may not. Well, you probably do know this, but there's a polling outfit out of North Carolina that generally tends liberal public policy polling. You are up, leading the entire Republican field now, 26% of the vote. Huckabee is in second place at 17%. Does this surprise you? When you started this, you think that you would be at the top of the heap this quickly? Well, I mean, people don't even know for sure that you're running.
I didn't think it would go this fast, Rush, but to be honest with you, and I don't even know if it's me or the message, the fact is, I look at what's happening to this country. I look at the way China is just ripping us off. I look at OPEC, the way they are ripping us off with the oil prices. I mean, people are going to be paying $6 and $7 a gallon for gasoline very, very soon, and you're going to be up to $150 a barrel. And they wouldn't even be there if it weren't for us. I look at South Korea. What they do to us is unbelievable. Even a smaller country, Colombia, they're signing a trade pact. We lost last year, let's call it loss, $4 billion with Colombia, fourth largest country in Latin America, $4 billion. With China this year, Rush, we're going to lose $300 billion. And that won't happen if I was there.
What does it tell you?
People hear it and they like me, I guess.
What does it tell you that the Chi-Coms say that they're going to start divesting themselves of our T-bills? What does that tell you?
They won't divest because we have all the power. They don't have the power, Rush. Rush, if we ever wanted them to stop manipulating their currency, which makes it almost impossible for our companies to compete, and I know because I build buildings, and I have to get so much stuff, whether it's curtain walls or other things from China, and I hate doing it. But they manipulate their currency to such an extent that it's very hard, almost impossible, for our companies to compete. And if you ever said to them, folks, the game is over, you know, we're rebuilding China, Rush. We're rebuilding. They're building bridges like twice the size of the George Washington. George Washington Bridge is like a small bridge. They are building airports. They're building cities with our money. And it's mostly from us because we have leadership that doesn't know what they're doing. If you ever said to them, 25% tax, a 25% tax on all of your product coming in, we would, first of all, never really probably have to impose the tax because they would come to the table, if you meant it, if you really meant it, so fast. Now, if they didn't come to the table, would make a fortune, would take in a lot of money, and guess what? Jobs would start going to Alabama and North Carolina and all our places. And so when you ask me about the polls, people know, and I made a lot of money with the Chinese, believe me, both in terms of selling them very big apartments. I sold one for $33 million recently to a Chinese gentleman, but also in terms of deals. I made a lot of money with the Chinese, and I know the Chinese very well. By the way, they don't love us, I will tell you that, just in case anybody has any question. They don't. When I see Obama having a dinner at the White House, Rush, for the president of China, who's been screwing us worse than anybody other than OPEC for years, it's not the right and appropriate location for a dinner, believe me. So there are ways of handling it, and they need us, Rush. That's the one thing. They always say, oh, but they have our debt. Think of it. They take our money, and then they loan it back to us, and we have to pay them interest. It would be something to solve very easily if you have the right messenger. We don't have the right messenger. Obama is the wrong messenger.
Now, years ago, 3 years ago, you thought Obama had the potential to be great. You didn't.
No, I was hoping. Well, no, he was just
What did you see in Obama 3 years ago that's changed?
Well, look, Rush. 3 years ago, or he wins the election, all right? And people came to me, and I said, I hope he's great. I think he's going to be great. We all love him. I want him to do great, Rush. And I'll go a step further. I'm a Republican, but if I had my choice of running or having Obama, or somebody, but Obama, even Obama, be a great president, the greatest president ever, I'd be so happy for the country. But he's not a great president. He won't be a great president. He doesn't have the capability to be a great president. And the world we're like a joke. As a country, we're becoming like a joke. Everybody is ripping us off. But I love my business. I love, like you love your business. I love what I'm doing. I'm doing great. And by the way, if I run, then you'll see how great I've done. Because I put in a financial statement which will knock people's socks off. Just knock their socks off. And I'm very proud of it. So I'll make a decision prior to June, and we'll see what happens.
Donald, you accurately describe what's happening to the country domestically, international policy. You describe Obama. A question that I have and a lot of people have, is Obama and the people helping him in his administration, are they just incompetent? Do they not get it? Or is this being done on purpose? I mean, there's an assault on the private sector of this country. There's an assault on wealth generation and creation. Is it these people are just rose-colored theoreticians who just don't know how wrong they are, or is it worse than that?
Well, there's two theories. There's one theory that he wants to destroy the country and create a socialistic country. And there is that theory, and I've read a lot. Yeah, this isn't necessarily my theory. I personally think they're incompetent. We don't use, we know, and you know, some of the great business leaders in this country. They're fantastic. And I know many of them. Almost all of them, I guess. I mean, I know so many. I know the politicians on both sides, Rush, but I know the great business leaders. I know guys that are so tough and so mean. They make you look like a nice guy, Rush, okay? They're so smart and so good. And I would put people to negotiate, let's say, with China. And guess what? We would do absolutely great. But we use diplomats to negotiate. And, when China sends over their people to negotiate, they pick their meanest, smartest, most vicious guy. And these guys, they don't play games. They don't laugh. They don't cry. They have no emotion. They just want to make money, and they just want to rip our country to shreds. But I know people that are tougher and smarter than them. We don't use them. So I think they're incompetent. One thing Obama is, he's a good campaigner. He's a terrible president. I think he's going to go down as the worst president ever, frankly. I used to say that about Jimmy Carter, but I think he's going to be surpassed. But I think that the one thing he is, he's a good campaigner. He just campaigns well. If you ask me about Obama, the only thing he does well is campaign.
Debt ceiling and the budget battle just fought. You're running for you're toying with the idea. You have demonstrable success in making ends meet. You have to, one way or the other. What's your opinion of watching this process take place? The debt ceiling fight coming up, a budget battle where we're supposed to feel good over cutting either $38 million or $352 million, whatever it was.
Well, I heard your statement last week, and it was sort of interesting because when they called me, we were in the billions, in the 38 billion range, and they asked me a question, and I heard 38 billion. Now, I wasn't happy with 38 billion, but I said, well, we'll have another fight, and that'll take place in a few months, and we'll be fine. But then I heard the 38 billion long after I did the interview with Greta Van Susteren, who's terrific, by the way. But I did an interview with her, and the interview took place before people found out that the $380 billion was actually a lot lower. So I would have had a lot to, because I wasn't even happy with the 380 number. So that's one thing. As far as the budget, I don't like raising the ceiling. You can solve the problem now. Why should we keep waiting? That's the problem. We keep waiting and waiting and waiting. But I will say, Rush, the Republicans have to be careful. And I'm a fan of Paul Ryan, but he shouldn't get too far out with some of these plans because they're going to be labor. One thing with me, if I decide to run, I am going to cherish senior citizens. And the Democrats, and I know them all, because as you know, I come from New York, and it's virtually 100% virtually Democratic, right?
Right.
You know, I've dealt with these people, the Schumer, and everybody.
I want to ask you about that when we come back from the break. I'm going to.
Very good. But the Republicans shouldn't get too far out, because they're already making plans to say, incorrectly, that the Medicare is going to be terrible for the seniors, et cetera, et cetera. This is Obama's fight, and he should be leading it as the president. We shouldn't get too far out in front.
Donald Trump is with us as we attempt to cure leukemia and lymphoma. And by the way, thank you again for that. That was totally unexpected. Mr. Trump has thrown $100,000 into our effort here today. Telephone number